I started it before I even realised what I was doing. Kia ora, everyone. Sally Ann on the sofa with Ken. Kia ora. And talofa lava.
Talofa. Very nice to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
Ah, a bit of fun. That was a bit exciting. Oh my gosh, I've got adrenaline now. Why are you standing for election?
Well, that's an interesting question. There are lots of reasons why people choose to do things publicly. And I guess being in the situation where I stood once for the Hutt City Council, ran as a ward candidate, 2010, got elected. Then 2013, 2016 for the regional council and got elected with a pretty strong vote count and mandate. So clearly there's an obligation I feel to a huge section of our community that have supported me over the years to do the best that I can to represent them at the various governance tables that I sit at.
Fantastic. And you obviously enjoy it.
Ooh,
tricky question.
It is.
Just going to get my tea.
It is. The Hutt City Council is 12 councillors and the mayor, and the regional council is 12 councillors and the chair. So if you want to do anything, you need 7 votes. That's the bottom line. If you're at the table and you're one of the 6, then the chances are you're not going to get your agenda through. But for a lot of the candidates that are running in this year's local body, and I think that in the history of local body elections in the Hutt City Council, it is the best group of candidates ever. And I say that firstly from a diversity point of view. There are Pasifika candidates, Asian candidates, Indian
multiple
candidates.
ages.
Yeah, multiple
perspectives.
Yeah, and gender representation is not too bad. From the regional council's point of view, in my opinion, is the worst group of candidates in the history of local body elections. For example, women are 51% of the population. Of the 45 candidates running for regional councillor positions, only 13 of them are women. It's only 25%.
Okay, not good enough. Come
No,
on, ladies.
It's not good enough. Now, we can talk all the horse shit we want to talk about our commitment to diversity and our commitment to having democratic bodies that look like the communities that they represent. But we all know that the average governor in New Zealand is white, male, 60 plus. They dominate the governance tables, they dominate the boardrooms, and of course they dominate the vote and they dominate the debate. So as you take as an example, we all know that we are facing significant challenges as a society with climate change. But it is not the white males over 60 that are marching on the street for change, is it?
It's
really
the kids.
Not. It's the kids, it's the students that are taking time off school. A lot of them are being ridiculed, but they are the leaders of tomorrow. We shouldn't be ridiculing. We should be celebrating their independence.
What we do.
Well, we've all inherited the incompetence of years of inaction.
Yes.
And it's interesting where you go in life and how things can give your thinking a sense of clarity. But it wasn't that long ago I was in Samoa for the Pacific Games in Apia. 24 nations for the Pacific, 5,000 athletes plus supporters. Samoa looked fantastic. But the underlying theme of the Pacific Games was rising sea levels, climate change and global warming. And I've been around sport and I've been around communities and issues for a long time. And it was one of the most moving experiences. And I remember we had a debate at the regional council before I went to Samoa about should we have a declaration as a climate emergency. Now people are in 3 categories. Yes, we absolutely should have a climate emergency. There's a middle group, well, maybe it should be climate urgency, and then the third group are looking out the window, not really knowing, where we are.
Crickets.
Exactly. But going to Samoa, seeing their commitment, and having the people of Tuvalu and the Marshall Islands and the Tokelau Islands, they're standing right in front of you, and obviously as all the ice melts and the sea levels rise,
very real.
their countries their countries are sinking.
There is no
Now,
denying.
because we're here in a so-called developed, middle-class, affluent society with a democratic political thing, we're getting all these stump speeches about, the data that we receive, and people are exactly, as I said before,
Blah, blah,
I think,
blah.
horseshit is a good, so I think I would like to think that if I get the opportunity to serve again, I will try to be much more vocal. I'll try to be much more mature. I'll try to articulate a position that I think is more reflective of where our country needs to be and where our communities
Sounds like
need
you've
to
had a
be on
bit
those
of
issues.
a wake-up call in here. It's
well,
not that you weren't aware of it, but it's been brought home with more urgency for you, personally.
I was very humbled when the people for the Tuvalu and Marshall are standing right across from you, not knowing what the future of their country is, and we are an island in the Pacific ourselves. So it really gave me a sense of perspective in terms of some of the stuff I've heard at our governance tables versus the reality of people that are living on an island that's sinking. So I don't know whether I've had an awakening, Sally Ann, or whether I've been immature, dumb and stupid and haven't seen the signs, which have obviously been there for a long time. So I think I'm probably somewhere in the middle.
I appreciate that clarity of thought, Ken. That's really, really good.
Yeah, well, people have been talking about it for a long time, and I've been ambivalent, to be fair.
Yeah.
Thinking, my house is all right, my family's all right, why should I, And then over a process of time, you get, as they say, what's that saying? In God we trust, and everything else, bring some data.
I've never heard that. That's great.
And I think that what I've started to see, obviously, with the work that's done in the environment and the environmental teams, and obviously the information that is now more freely available, one thing I've got very clear thoughts about is that most certainly we are in a very, very vulnerable state as a world and as a globe, and that we all need to contribute our bit.
Yes, and I've been attending a few events recently that are related to the environment and climate and where we're going, and one of the big messages that's really coming through for me is that the environment and our ecosystems are all we've got, and if we don't take care of them now, we're in a really bad trouble. And I feel like as a Lower Hutt as a people are in a really strong position to make some good decisions right now, and choosing leaders that understand that that's the crux of it all. Basically, I got to talk to a former politician, and I said, what do you do when you're trying to take action and you're talking with our leaders and you're sitting down and you're having korero with them and they're not listening? And she said, vote them out. It was very clear.
Exactly. So you need 7 votes. So if you want to have a serious discussion about climate change, and we want to implement some policies and want to implement some action plans that are going to reduce the number of cars on the Waitemata Hill Road by 2,000 in the next 3 years, right? Well, for that to go through, you need 7 votes at the table, because if you don't get the 7 votes, then it'll just pass as as something that we talked about last Tuesday.
Oh, she'll be right.
Yeah. Well, that's the mentality
Yeah.
of going on, and of course, those agendas and those debates are driven by the status quo of our governance, and that's why I'm so excited and so enthused about the quality of candidates, particularly the diverse range of candidates that are running for the Hutt City Council. I know what it's like to be. I was the first Pacific Island elected to the Hutt City Council, and I know what it's like to be the lone voice, where some people's perception is that all you do is sing the waiata at the end of the speech, and you can help get the kapa haka group. And then, as a society, we have gone beyond. We've gone beyond that now, and I talk about Asians are about 16% of the population, Māori are 17% of the population. But you look at the lineup of candidates in the regional council, there's no, that's why.
Well, it's a good call out. We can do better.
Yes, yeah. And I think I'm a bit disappointed in myself. I think I could do better. I have been very supportive of some of the new candidates that are running for deliberately, because I think we need, obviously, to state the obvious, we need governance bodies that look like the communities they represent. We all know that, but if you don't action and you just talk about it, you just be relegated to the basket of, we've been saying that kind of stuff for years, but what are you doing about it? How many people have you actively sought in the community that are electable? What work are you doing to make sure that their positions and their policies and the way that they articulate their positions are going to warm themselves to the electorate when the voting papers go out in a couple of weeks' time. All of those sorts of things is a process. And for those that are running for the first time, they will be anxious, they will be nervous, they'll be very conscious about the reaction of social media and the impact that could have on their candidacy, both intelligent and unfortunately ignorant as well. That's just part of the process of being out there. A lot of them have to raise money for pamphlets, for signs. They have to stand and speak publicly for the first time, and then run the ridicule of being in the room with people who support other candidates. There's a whole myriad of things that they need to overcome. So, I've certainly done my best to try to help as many of them as possible to have that confidence to get out there and make the change, so that there are options for the electorate to choose when the papers go out.
Yeah, and I've seen that from you, and it's very appreciated. And I love to see people who have experience in a field reaching out and helping the newbies come through and giving them that support and that experience. We've meandered in this conversation all over the place, a lot like a river. So I'm going to bring us back to the important questions. Do you have a signature dance move?
I tell you what, when I'm drunk, I can sway. I can sway with the best. Ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. Yeah.
Well, I give you a 10 for that sway, but that was out of 20. So, hey.
So that's a fail, isn't it? Really?
Well, anyway.
That's
well,
right.
No, it's a pass these
Okay.
days. Who's going to get your vote for Bird of the Year, Ken?
Ooh. Well, the Mallard family and the Laban family go back to the 50s. So Trevor Mallard's parents and my parents were all members of the Wainemata Tennis Club. Our families are linked, so I'm sure he'd be disappointed if I didn't go for the more.
I think he would be too.
He'd be very disappointed, and he knows where I live.
Yeah. Okay, we don't want to start a war. Is there a song that you can't resist dancing to?
I would probably. I'm a big Frank Sinatra. I'm a Frank Sinatra guy.
Yeah, who's not?
Born in the 50s.
Yeah. What's not to
the,
love? Okay,
and the
so
Rat Pack.
if you want to see this man dancing, put Frank Sinatra on, basically.
That's it.
I want to know, how do you plan in your capacity, even on Greater Wellington Regional Council, to better involve residents in decision-making processes?
Well, I think firstly, the democratic process is a very subjective one.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to engage residents in the democratic process is to ensure that the representatives that are there are truly representative of their views,
In the first
as
place.
opposed to just people who have the influence and the affluence to get themselves elected. So there's two different kinds of beasts with that. So, if you've got a lot of money and you can buy ads and you can buy signs and you can
Or you've got
showboat your
people
cars.
backing you
and
who
you've
have
got
a lot
people-
of money. And,
Yes,
yeah. Mm.
yeah. Well, that's a totally different situation.
Okay,
and
so
then
you're
get to the
saying
table and be numb.
Get them at the table. Get them at the table at the beginning. The people that look like the community.
Yes. What do you stand for? How best are you going to represent the things that I feel strongly about?
Mm-hmm.
What is your view on carbon emissions? What is your view on the 12,000 cars on the Wainemata Hill Road every day that 4 years ago was 10,000? So it's gone from 10 to 12. So we're losing.
Not
We're
to
losing
mention
the battle.
those trucks.
Not to mention the trucks that are coming to this very, very controversial clean fill.
I
that you
remember
have done
it's
that.
a what? It's not a clean fill.
It's a dirty fill, isn't it?
It's a dirty. It's a filthy,
Yeah,
filthy.
well,
dirty,
good on you
dirty
for standing up.
Yeah.
And
It
good on
takes
you
a lot of courage.
It does.
and
it
energy.
Does. Well, you will recall at the public meeting that you organised, I did say that if you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. So you need people. And I think that one of the strong things about the public meeting that you called is that you're not an elected politician. I'm very cynical about going to meetings that have been called by elected politicians during the campaign period, because why are they calling them?
What's their agenda?
What's their agenda? And obviously it's to give the impression to the community that they're concerned about the thing.
More of this, you guys. We don't want that.
Well, bottom line is you need 7 votes. So I'm hopeful from a Hutt City Council point of view that there's a diverse range of candidates that get elected that share the common goal of a need for positive change, whatever that may be, in a direction away from where we have been in recent times.
Status quo has got to go. I'm going to leave you with that. Ken, is there anything else you wanted to finish on?
No, I'm fine. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. It's been really lovely to have you here. Thank you so much. Whawhatai. Goodbye, everyone. Remember to give your donation to protect Wainuiomata River at our Give a Little. Keep watching and get out there and vote. We need those voices at the table right from the beginning. Thank you so much.